Hello, encouragers. I'm Rebecca Scott, wife, mother of 4, author, and owner and designer of Rebecca Scott Designs. I'm here to encourage you, to make you feel that I can do this spirit each and every day of our awesome journeys to fulfill our many important roles. I believe we are fully equipped to execute, and I will provide as much knowledge, practices, and systems as I can to help you understand just what I know you can do. Execute. We got this. Hello, encouragers. On today's podcast, I want to talk to you about a phrase that we frequently have to ask ourselves. And while there are no hard rules, there are basic guidelines that I follow when it comes up for me. It's when to say yes and when to say no. And we've all heard, there's tons of podcasts that will tell you say yes to everything because it's opportunities and you don't know where there's going to end up. And then there's minimalist podcasts that will say no to everything. And sometimes it just can't be answered so simply. It's not like it's an all in or all out. Or some people will say, if it's not a heck yes, then it's a heck no. That is a good one to follow, but there's still that wiggle room in between there where we are so seized with indecision. And when I got to thinking about situations in my own life, and by the way, this whole podcast was brought up by a subject when I posted on our Facebook. So make sure to become a part of the Encourager on Facebook. We post a lot of different day-to-day things on there and some encouragement and especially recipes and how-tos and home hacks, all the stuff we love to just gather up information on. But they said, how do you know when to say yes and when to say no? So after I prayed about it a little bit and wrote the exact question down on a piece of paper, the thoughts started flowing to me about how I tend to say yes or tend to say no, depending on what it is and what my method is, which is what we want to know. What is your method? So I always remind myself it needs to be a win-win. It needs to be a win for me and it needs to be a win for them, customer, product, whatever it might be. And I believe it is possible to have a win-win. And if it's not quite a win-win, I don't want to win. I don't want to win if the other person doesn't win or feel like they are gaining something as well. I would hope that a lot of us are like that. I don't want the win if somebody's going to end up hurting or not okay with it. So I go back to my priority list, which is, number 1, I am a servant of God. Number 2, I'm a wife to Nicholas. Number 3, I'm a mother of 4. And number 4, I'm owner and designer of Rebecca Scott Designs and the podcaster for The Encourager. So that's my order of importance in my priorities, which I have loads of podcasts recorded on this. Now, for me to know when to say yes and when to say no, I wrote these priorities down first, and then I made a column, yes, and I made a no column. And then, whatever the situation is, I ask, is it a yes? Do I honor God? Yes. Does it honor my marriage? Yes or no. Does it honor my children? Yes or no. And does it honor my business? Yes or no. So that's just the basics going down that priority list. And then a little bit more detail. So in your marriage, and I will give a couple of examples here too, how much more time commitment will this idea be? If it's introducing a new product, if it's starting a website, if it's starting a whole business, how much more time commitment will it mean outside of your marriage? Because the chances are you're going to have to obviously put time towards it. So you need to talk about what kind of time commitment will it require and how much of that is outside of my marriage. Like maybe your marriage is going to help with it. Like your husband's going to dig in and help you, or your spouse is going to dig in and help you. But how much of a time commitment is it outside of your marriage? And then talk about it with your spouse. And when would you fit it in? Because you can't make time. Believe me, it is a question I'm going to ask God when I get up there, as conceited as that is. I will be asking that. And I'm sure he will humble me again like he does every day about his level of time. But anyways, ask yourself, you can't make time. So what has to go? Ask yourself, what has to go to try this new project? It might mean that you don't have to permanently let go of this something that you're letting go of, but you will need to let go of something during this season of growing this product or introducing this thing. So ask yourself, where are you going to fit this in? Okay, now in terms of your children, your next priority, ask basically the same questions as your marriage is, how much time commitment will this mean outside of my children? And what stage are the kids in? If you're nursing a newborn or chasing a toddler or doing with emotional problems with a teenager or disobedience in a child, what is the time commitment that this new thing is going to require outside of your children? And then ask yourself, what stages are they in? Is it a meaty stage? Because some of those stages are much more meaty than the other stages. Then down the priority list, asking, will I say yes or will I say no? How does it affect your business? So first and foremost, is it profitable? Like maybe it won't be profitable out of the gate, but eventually will it be profitable? Will it be scalable? Are there time restraints? Is this a trend? Like it won't last that long, so you just need to hit it hard. Is there an end to this project? Like you will complete it and then it's just on evergreen and it just generates its own fund? Or is it something that you'll actually have to make into your regular schedule every single week or every single day? Like it's not something that will just go on autopilot. Those are all questions you'll need to ask if you're going to say yes or no. Then ask when you're down to your fourth priority, the business, or whatever that is for you, whatever your fourth priority is for you. How much money will it take to implement it? Do you have that money? How much time will it take to implement it? Do you have that time? How much stress goes with it? Because inevitably it's going to have stress. Are you ready for that stress? And then ask yourself, what is the worst case scenario if you decide to take this on? And what is the best case scenario? Like you make a lot of money, it turns evergreen, it's going to be great. The kids are going to remain the same. Marriage is going to remain the same. It's going to be awesome. That's the best case. What's the worst case? I lose a little bit of money. My marriage fails. My kids hate me. That's probably worst case. But think it through because your worst case is going to be different depending on the situation. But think through what is the worst case that can happen and what is the best case that can happen when you're thinking about saying yes or no to this thing. And again, I'll give some examples so that you know what a thing could be. Okay, so let's say you're introducing a product. You already have a business and you're going to introduce a new product. So we're going to ask ourselves, does it honor God? Because if it's, for example, if it's a t-shirt that is kind of trendy right now and you know how to make it, but maybe the phrase doesn't exactly coincide with your own business, but you know it will sell. But does it honor God? So I want you to ask yourself that. Does it honor God? I ran into this recently, obviously, which is why I'm pausing so long. And I was like, no, I would not make that t-shirt or wear that t-shirt because I don't believe on a level, it's funny, but I don't believe on a deep level that it honors God. When you introduce this product, does it honor your marriage? Meaning, how much time will it take to introduce this? Does your husband think that it's an okay thing to start? Where are you going to fit it in? Can you make time for this? Because you're going to have to say no to some things. So how are you going to make time for this? And what has to go in order to implement this new product that you want to introduce? Are you going to let go of a different product because you're going to pour your energy and your time and your making into this current product? Then your children. If you introduce this product, will it require time outside of them that you would normally go to their activity where you're like, you know what? I'm in developing this product. I'm going to have to miss a few of your games or your activities just while I develop this product. Make sure to write that down. You just want to know, is it going to be a little bit outside of your children in order to develop this product or introduce this product to your line? And then, isn't it okay time to introduce this product? Maybe one of the kids is going through potty training and you're like, no way. No way should you introduce a product when you're potty training, right? Or maybe they're having an extremely difficult time with bullying in the 5th or 6th grade. And you're like, this would not be a good time for me to take something on right now. I need to be more attentive to the kiddos. What stage are they in? And will introducing this product mess up what you're trying to accomplish with your children? Okay, then the business end of it. Okay, is introducing this product profitable? Is it scalable? Like, can you produce more of it fairly simple after you figure out the methods? Is there time restraints to it? Like, is this product trendy and it will eventually end, when you have to come up with the next new idea? Or is this product something you can do evergreen as long as you do all the work leading up to it and then it'll just be simply making copies of it? Is there an end to this? That's the trend part of it. Or do you need to make it into your regular schedule where if I introduce this product, it will mean one day a week I will need to commit to making this. All of those you need to ask when you're introducing this product. And then where does it come into your schedule? So how much money do you need to implement to introduce the product? How much time is it going to take? And how much stress goes with it? Is this product a ton of steps? Or can you get better at those steps the more you do it? Does it require a lot of social media backing of it? A lot of your team in it? How much stress is going to be with this if you had to guess? What is the worst case that's going to happen when you introduce this product? and what is the best case. Hey encouragers, this is series 10, and you know what that means. At the end of this, we're going to take a break for retail season with Rebecca Scott Designs, and in order to respect that and give it the full focus that it needs, we will start podcasting again here in January. But in the meantime, what are you thinking about for 2020? If you're anything like me, you are thinking ahead. You're thinking about what 2020 is going to be like. You're thinking about your goals. You're like, I'm going to wait until January. Well, what if I was there with you in January, holding your hands, helping you to set up the appropriate systems for your stage of life and your stage of business that helped you truly accomplish those goals for 2020? And not yearly goals. I'm talking monthly goals. I will help you do that. You need to join our master class for the Encourager. The information to sign up on the master course starts in January again. I'm so excited. We have had so much awesome success with our current classmates. So sign up for that at theencouragerpodcast.com for the master class for the Encourager. I can't wait to see who our new teammates are going to be. Let me hold you accountable monthly to what your goals are to seriously conquer 2020. Okay, another example from my own personal life that I know that I have to give you, which is what prompted me when they said, how do you know when to say yes or no? That just recently came up in the last year or so, and I just really started wrestling with it and going through what I'm describing to you here is just this basic line of yes or no. So I have talked frequently on the podcast and also in my own business that I want to build a barn studio on my farm here. And I want it to be awesome. Of course, I wanted to have a podcast studio upstairs. Downstairs would be where we could have boutique shows, production going on, shipping going on, a women's retreat center. I had all these ideas around this barn studio, and then had enough time to reflect on it on my day alone, which I highly recommend, where I thought, okay, I need to dig through this barn studio and really come up with the plan for it and get some dates on paper, because wishing takes as much energy as planning, you guys, remember. So I thought, all right, I'm going to pick the date, and I kind of figured out how much the barn was going to cost. I made some phone calls for that, had my husband wrap around the building of it, had my team kind of excited about it and thinking about it in the back end of what sales, like we need to be at this number a day in order for us to get at that barn that I so desperately have been dreaming about and wondering about. And so I got some cost estimate and figured, okay, I can break ground in 2023 and pay it off in 2030 was my goal. And when I started really going down the path of thinking who it was going to honor and if I was going to say yes to this or no to this, because here's the thing, I know myself enough, which by the way, listen to the podcast, know thyself, that if I say we're going to do something, people start jumping. And I do not mean that in a bragging way at all. It's the energy that I put behind things and my sheer amount of grit and my amount of leadership. People go, okay, she means it. Let's do this. And when I told my husband that, he said, you don't say something and I jump. And I was like, honey, you drew up the barn plans. He was like, oh, yeah, guess I do jump. So I have to be careful with that and really contact my advisors, meaning God, my close friends and family, and myself and my mentors in my life, to bring up ideas to them first before I bring them up to my team and start implementing them, to know like, okay, is this just me having a wild hair, or is there some truth in this and we do need to get this started? So I know for myself, I really need to mull it over before I just announce it to everybody. I've just learned that about myself, because people will start jumping, which is a powerful thing. And I don't necessarily want that power all the time, but it is something that I know about myself. So I need to be careful about what I want to place into action and whose lives it will affect. Okay, so that being said, I asked myself, does it honor God? Does building this barn honor God? Yes, it does, because I would be using the talents and the gifts that He has given me. I would be administering His grace in its various forms, 1 Peter 4:10. I knew that this would actually honor God, especially if I could turn it into a women's retreat center, like they could do weekends out there. I could continue podcasting, encouraging others. I knew it would honor God. Check mark, yes. Does it honor my marriage? Yes. See, I was a little question there. I'm like, well, I don't know if it dishonors my marriage, but it would require more time in there. So I moved on to the next question because I wasn't sure. I don't think it dishonored my marriage, but necessarily yes, it honored my marriage. So children, does it honor my children? Same thing as marriage. Well, it doesn't dishonor them. And it definitely teaches my children to do what you love and to do it well, to use the gifts that God has given you. Okay, yep, I'm sliding on the yes, I think so. Would it require a lot of time? Yes. What stages are the kids in? Okay, well, Gus is moving into high school, which means a ton more activities. He's a 7th grader, but you know what I mean. By the time this barn got built, he'd be in high school, a ton of activities. Iverson would be into more of her activities, and Rosin would just be starting, because our kids don't start activities until they're 9. She would be starting her activities pretty frequently, and then, but everybody would be out of the house, so I could work on it during the day until I had to do activities at night. Okay, well, what would have to go? If I built this barn, I can't make time, like we talked about. So when would this happen? Nick would have to say no to his business, NGS Construction, for a while to help me build this. Okay, so that affects my marriage because he's going to be building the barn for me, who has this grand, awesome idea. What other questions do I need to ask myself? When would I make time? Because I'm going to be involved in the building process a little bit. I may not be hammering the nails, but I'll definitely be drawing it out. My team would have to be involved. This would affect my marriage. I'd probably be working on it in the evenings. Then I went into asking my questions about the business, okay? Does it honor my business? Well, yes, it grows it. Is it profitable? Eventually, but it would take quite a bit of time for this barn to be profitable because basically I'm taking on another mortgage, right? Is it scalable? No. Once I decided the size of the barn, I couldn't build it bigger unless I did an addition to it or something like that. But as far as it did scale my business, but the actual building site is not scalable. It would need to succeed at the size I decided. Are there time restraints? Yes. It would require a lot of my time to be in the barn. And what I had decided is, well, I don't need to be in the barn all the time. I can just do one weekend a month. We open up the barn for a show. But that one weekend a month would be harder to find when the kids get more active in things. And I would need to be at that barn no matter what that weekend. So it might be rearranging some family things in there. And if the barn sat in my yard, and I had my own home studio, which is where I thrive. We all know how much I love my where that I talk about. I would still feel like I needed to be in the barn. Like if somebody was over there shipping, especially my team who I love and love spending time with, if they were over there shipping, I would feel like I need to be over there shipping with them, right? Not in my studio designing something awesome. Okay, so there's some time there. I would need to be over there shipping. And if I wasn't over there, like I took the weekend off, but my team ended up doing a show or there was some activity going on over there, but I wasn't over there, wouldn't I feel like I needed to be over there anyways? Yeah, because it's my thing, right? It's like a fifth child to me. I would want to feel like I should be over there, even if I didn't need to be. Even if I built up all the most amazing people to run it, I would feel like I need to be over there because I would feel like the customers were asking, where am I? If this is my dream and my baby, why am I not over there doing that? Okay, you see where this is going. Asking all of these questions really made me start thinking, is this barn a good idea? I would have to put it into my regular schedule. That was another question. Is there an end to this or do I need to put it in my regular schedule? It would have to be a regular scheduled thing. I would have to redo my systems, which you know how awesome. I love systems and I'm okay with altering them for sure. And I've been thinking about the way the systems will change as the kids get older, but this would be a real steep system change because of the time required in this barn studio. Then there was the question of how much money to implement it. Will I be married to another mortgage because I couldn't pay for it straight out by 2023? I would like to put at least half down and I might have been able to do that, but not all of it down. So depending on how you feel about debt, that might be one of the things you ask yourself is like, do I have to go into debt to do this? How much time to implement it? We figured it would take us about 1.5 years to build it. And how much stress would be with it? Well, you guys, I think it would be a lot of stress. First of all, I'd have to ask permission from the barn. I own the land with my husband, but it's on our farm. So they would know exactly where our farm is. Our livestock is across the road. Our other livestock is really close to it. So there's a little bit of the logistics of it that I'm like, okay, so everybody would know where I live. Do I care about that? I thought that was okay. My husband was a little weary about that, so I had to listen to that also. Am I okay with people here on the weekends? I thought so. Like, I love to do the shows and travel, but that's because I was going to a different space. Would I feel the same if it was in my own space? I would need to stock this thing. I would need to be able to pay for this thing every single month. I would need to be able to be sure I had all the marketing land up to it. So basically what I'm saying is there would be some stress with it. And while I know, because of who I am, I know I could create systems around it and make it fly. But laying it out on paper, you guys, really made me think about, I don't want to do this. Even saying it right now makes me reflect on, I made the right choice. The worst case scenario was that I would have a barn that maybe didn't fly, that I couldn't book shows. Like I could still book my own shows, but I couldn't get people to drive all the way out here. Or they just didn't fly and just didn't pay the bills. Or I couldn't get anybody to book it for women's retreats or whatever it might be. That might be the worst case, is that we're stuck with this gorgeous building that wasn't being booked. The best case scenario is that it was thriving and paid itself off in no time. And the kids loved it and my husband loved it and it was profitable and it was beautiful and I got to spend time in there. That would be the best case scenario. But I couldn't even play out the best case scenario in my mind because I kept saying, this does not honor my children. It mostly came down to, after really thinking about it, the two biggest things that made me decide I will not be building this barn studio, at least in the next 10 years. Because the kids' activities, I want to be there. If they are singing, if they are playing, if they are doing a play, I wanted to be there for those activities, but more so I wanted to be there for the everyday. And if I was in the house and the barn was over there and the lights were on because the team was busy doing something, even though it was the evening hours and they chose to work outside of normal hours for whatever reason, I would still feel like I need to be over there. And I would never fully be able to be present in my home with my children and with my husband. And so I decided in this stage of life, it was not a good idea to build that barn studio. They are way too active, and this is the helm of raising them before they are out of this house. So maybe when they start to get a little bit older and there's only 2 yet in the house, maybe I'll redebate that barn. But for right now, I want to continue to put the money from my business into creating an amazing online experience for them. So putting the money into the website. Still traveling to some shows. I will actually be narrowing those down in the next 5 years as Gus and Ivy and Rosalind and Pixon get busier with their activities. I'll narrow down my shows to the ones that rock. Continue to make my online experience just amazing for the customer and not build this barn for a while. When I told my husband about my series of thoughts of does it honor God, does it honor marriage, does it honor the children, and does it honor the business, and how I came to this after a lot of prayers, because I already put things in motion to start this barn. Nick started drawing up the plans. We kind of mapped out where it would be on the farm. I had told my team what the sales need to be in order for us to get there. So after I really thought about this and was like, okay, now I have to tell everybody I have decided not to do this. When I told my husband, he sighed out. And that was a big aha for me also. And then knowing myself, he went, oh, okay. Because he was not ready to commit to the time and the stress and the money that it would require to do this dream of mine. And even my own team, while I don't think they had the words to say they were relieved, I'm pretty sure they were relieved just because it was one more thing on this entrepreneurial journey that we didn't know how we would fit it in. And there are still a lot of things that we need to do currently to make our experience for our customer the best it can possibly be on our website that would have gotten sidebarred while we were building. And so it really was the best decision. And I have a ton of peace about it now. I didn't while making it. I still went back and forth because ultimately I love to dream big. I love to achieve big, and I love to honor God and my marriage and my children and my business. But this barn just wasn't sitting well in my heart and in my belly. It just was not sitting well. And as I thought about the stress and a lot about the mortgage of it, just like buying this brick and mortar, that was not what I had envisioned for this business in the beginning, which came to me from God. It was, I want to raise babies at home while sewing and allow other women to do the same thing. Well, raising babies at home means I'm in the home, not in a barn. And I'm raising the children while I'm with them. That requires you to be with them when you're raising them. And I think this barn would take away from that. And so that was it. I went back to the original vision. What did I have? Not that your visions can't change, because they can evolve. Obviously mine did. I thought about doing the barn and then just had to rethink like, wait a minute. That is not in fact what I want to do right now. I have no doubt that the scale of this business will need to change in the next 5 years or so, as far as like creating a better website experience, maybe having a brick and mortar somewhere in this, but maybe not on the farm. Maybe it's somewhere in town. I'm not sure. I don't have to think about that part right now. What I have to think about is that I want to make my website experience the best it can possibly be for customers, and raising my children well, and being the best wife I can be, and being the best servant of God. And to do those, that barn did not fit in there right now. So I hope that this podcast has given you a little insight into my own life and how I come to whether I should say yes or whether I should say no to things. And even with the barn scenario, you guys, I said yes all the way until I was like, wait, no. As soon as I started going down the list, does it honor God? Does it honor my marriage? Does it honor my children? And does it honor my business? I realized, wait, no, this is way too much friction with these different categories. So it was a no. So ask yourselves, you guys, when you need to say yes or no to something, whether you're introducing a website, whether you're introducing a product, or maybe just starting up a little side gig, ask yourself, does it honor God? Honor my marriage, honor my children, honor my business. How much time is it going to take? You can't make time. So where are you going to put this in? What else has to go? How much money to implement it? How much time to implement it? How much stress will go with it? And what is the worst case and the best case scenario? When you ask yourselves these questions, you'll become better able to answer a very firm yes or no. Thank you, encouragers, for always allowing me to be vulnerable, to share this journey with you. It's been an amazing 5 years of podcasting. And I love that I can jump on the mic and tell you what the latest mistake is that I've learned about. And of course, a lot of the successes that I've learned about, and all the amazing things I've been able to experience right here on the farm and with my business and with my marriage and with my children, that I get to share them with you. Until next time, encouragers, we got this.
Hey, encouragers! If you're feeling overwhelmed, if you've had the scene where you're crying because there's no way you can meet all the roles in your life, I've been there. I've so been there, but I'm not there anymore. And I know how you can get out of that slump and start executing on all the things that God has equipped you to do. You can pick up my book at equippedtoexecute.com, also on my website at shoprsd.com, and it's also available on Amazon. Thank you for tuning in, encouragers. Remember to subscribe so it's automatically on your phone, and please rate and review me. We got this, encouragers.